So I'm up early this morning and I'm looking at an article, and as you know, that Trump and Elon are no longer associating with one another how they were in the beginning when he helped to, if you guys didn't realize, he helped with this money to get him in office, and he politicized his car. A lot of people were distancing themselves from Elon, and they were disgruntled about the things that he was participating in terms of the politics. But this is different because now that there's this great divide between Trump and Elon, and Trump has done what he normally does when you get involved with him. The friendships don't last. That's what happened in that first term when he was involved with all his cabinet members, and a lot of them walked away from the White House dealing with him. He even had a top head of, I believe it was head of security, and that man walked away, John Bolton. And he actually warned people in the first term that Donald Trump served, that Donald Trump was a threat to the U.S. And it was out of his own words, that he was warning people about Trump. And this man, I guess he had experience from back in previous engagement with other presidents, and he's actually worked in the White House, so he had experience. So when he had dealt with Trump, he realized that it was something not right, and he even wrote a book. It was several people that wrote books. I know some of you guys remember Omarosa. A lot of people were disappointed with her when she had joined the Trump administration in the first term, but that was very short-lived. She had ended up having to be carried out because she got in a big altercation with some people during a meeting, I believe, and she wrote a tell-all book. And now she had her own set of experience because I believe she was an intern for a president. So most of the people had, at least some of them had some types of experience. These people that he has on his cabinet right now, a lot of them, I was hearing, they didn't have experience. They were just loyalists. So, that's what makes a lot of this problematic. But this right here, this article is interesting because the very country that Trump is against, at least one of them I know, is called China. He has a problem with China. Guess who is getting a lot of accolades from that group? And I'm going to tell you why. So after Trump, he warns Elon to close up his shop. China, they rally behind the world's richest man. There's no need to keep putting up with it. And so this is by a Badar Shaka. I don't know if I said your name. I might have butchered it, but this article is really good. It's about 3 minutes. It says the Tesla CEO and the world's richest man, Elon Musk, have found an unusual source of support in the form of Chinese social media users amid the billionaire ongoing feud with the U.S. President Donald Trump over the latter. One big, beautiful bill. Now, they fell out over this bill, and I believe some business ventures were involved in this, and Donald Trump had severed his ties with Elon. So there's a lot of feuding back and forth on Truth Social and X with both of these people. So as it goes, it says what happened. So the users on the Chinese social media, and there's a Chinese social media called Weibo, have been hailing Musk's stance against Trump with a Hashtag Musk wants to build an American party, going viral on X, formerly known as Twitter counterpart. Now, The Guardian had reported this on Wednesday. So the support comes as Musk had earlier claimed that he would found a political party if the Senate passed Trump's big, beautiful bill. So they passed it. So this is Musk and his ex and his post pretty much letting people know what he's about to do. So as he inserted himself in this man getting elected, he's about to insert himself in unelecting this dude. So it sounds like this is going to get muddy. So if this insane spending bill passes, the American Party will be formed the next day. So I believe if people are not able to run this man out any other way, and I know a lot of people are really upset with Elon for what he has done. Think about it. If he put him in there, he might just be able to get him out. So it's a possibility, but we shall see. So it says our country needs an alternative. I saw this in other articles. So I believe he might be serious, because if you look at that big, beautiful bill, it cuts all of the future projects that he has. It cuts a lot of those out. So he says our country needs an alternative to the Democrat-Republican Unity Party so that the people actually have a voice. Several users came out in Musk support on Weibo. Brother Musk, you've got over 1 billion people on your side backing you, one Weibo user wrote. So when you've had enough, there's no need to keep putting up with it. This is what another user had said. Some offered deeper insight into what it could mean if Musk were to enter politics. So if Elon were to found a political party, his tech-driven mindset could inject fresh energy into the politics. So the potential for change is significant and worth watching. This is what another user has shared. So why does it matter? The news comes as Musk has doubled down on his criticism of the bill, which Musk said increases the U.S. debt ceiling by $5 trillion. So we just went into debt in the U.S. and we see where a lot of the money is going. It's not going to housing. It's not going to health care. It's not going to feeding people, because he cut the SNAP, he cut the Medicaid, and he's cutting money out of our schools. There's LA County where he has cut money out of the schools. Most of the schools, he has gone on the rampage. Any public school, he's somehow taken the money away from those programs that benefit children of color. So it's very problematic. You need to look at that bill and some of the real key components of the things that he has withheld from these communities. And if the community is about trying to help people, or trying to help marginalized people, he has somehow taken money away from those communities. So I was watching that. However, Trump called Musk out over his comments. So the president said that without subsidies, Musk would have to close up his shop and head back to his home, South Africa, in a post on Truth Social. So elsewhere, Tesla's board has received criticism for its silence on the billionaire's comments from experts like Ross Gerber, who says that Musk has enabled by endorsing him in the run-ups the last year's presidential election. Okay, so there's still some blowback by some people that are very disgruntled with him even putting Trump at the forefront and putting his money and energy and time and campaigning and helping him to win, or to try to win the election. And that's why we're dealing with what we're dealing with. So pretty much it looks like that's the end of the article. So it was a 3-minute read. It wasn't that long. Now, I'm hearing some people think maybe he can get him out. Maybe he can change things. But some people are saying we might be trading one evil for a new one. And in the sense that, we saw how he was when he put him in there. He politicized his car, and a lot of people were seeing what he was doing. He was pushing his cars at people, and that was like a sales pitch on the White House lawn. A lot of people wasn't for that. So he also was offering $1 million checks to people who don't have money that they generate like he does. And somehow, people, if people are in poverty, they're gonna, fold and cave in the pressure. The problem is when you get those $1 million checks, if you don't have all of the businesses that Elon has, and you don't have money making money by itself, and you don't have to go to work, you're going to spend all of that money. And you can spend a lot of money pretty quickly. When you get through paying bills, because the way our lives are, if you're not billionaires, you always owe money to some entity somewhere out there. If you don't have anything that is generating money like 8 billion or 8 million a year, then you're kind of screwed, because you're gonna go through that money fast when you get to paying. Your everyday life is operating. You're paying your bills, and if you have like maybe some things that you owed, and it has generated interest. If you look at some of the people who owe like student loan debt, and they might owe to other things. Maybe they're in debt with a car note. Maybe they're in debt with a house note. That $1 million check, it might pay some bills, but you're gonna run through it pretty quickly, and you will no longer be a millionaire. So some people had went ahead and signed a paper and voted Trump in on those ideas. So some people are not happy about the idea because they think that he might turn on us as well. I say we should see. I don't know that I trust everyone. I'm one of these people that don't have a lot of trust in people, especially if they're involved in a lot of demise of people who don't have as much as they do. Now, I'm going to set this article aside, and I'm going to talk to you candidly about an incident that I believe has happened. And I'm talking to you about the community that I reside in. It's not just where I live, but it's all communities that are a reflection of who I am. I know you hear my voice and you can't see me, but I am a black person. I'm a woman, and I have different opinions. I know people get on here on social media and they make money because they're on here every day, and this is their source of income. I was intrigued, during this summer I realized that we've come to a place where people, if they don't have any skill set and they don't have any other job, maybe they do have other skill sets, but maybe the money is good. I noticed I had recently, some of the young people that I've run into make money on this app called TicTok. you'll see like people selling things. It's almost like a little flea market online. And some of the stuff, I'd have to be honest, is pretty good. I found myself, buying a few things on there. You got young people and people all over the world, people trying to sell things. It could be clothes, it could be shoes, perfume, maybe toys. It's like going into a world flea market online, and it's become really attractive. I know the two, Sheen and Temu, had been attacked by Trump, and he, I guess, had a problem with them because I believe they're out of China, and he has a real big problem with the Asian communities, even in where I live, and all over. He seems to enjoy attacking them, and he claims they're after him and they're trying to undermine him, and I think a lot of this is about money and racism and power and dictatorship and autocracy. I believe we've come to a place where America is not free. I don't think, really, to be honest with you, I'm giving you my true, honest, how would you say, revelation. I guess that, what I've really come to is I don't believe any of us are free, because if you look at it, we have to go to work every day. If you don't have a lot of money and you're not generating a lot of money, and you don't live as the 1%, as Bernie Sanders would say. There's the 99% and then there's the 1%. And the 1% is the wealthiest people, the elites. If you don't live as an elite, you have to get up and go to work. You have to do something to generate money, to try to bring in money to live to some degree. And some people are ultra wealthy, and others might be living comfortably. And then you got people that are in the middle, and I think I did a video about that. People who are kind of like they might have a little property that they have invested in. They have a little bit of money to kind of have a bit of a cushion. And then you have this bottom rung of people who are just trying to hang on to the little bit that they do have, and they may not be rich, they may not be completely poor. And then you got your extreme poverty at the bottom, which any one of those people that are in the middle class or like the mid-level middle class, anyone could fall all the way back down to extreme poverty. It could be one paycheck away. It could be, something could happen in your life, could change dramatically your health. And with this big, beautiful bill mess, if you have a health incident, that could change your life, and you could end up being in extreme poverty. And I think it's unrealistic to expect people to work 80 hours if they have some kind of health issue. So where am I getting at? I'm noticing that a lot of people have found other ways to make income, even if they might have like a city job, or they have another job. They have to wait on that check every 2 weeks or once a month. So they have some kind of side money as a cushion or a backup for their lifestyle, or maybe just to support them because they need it. So I was intrigued by looking at the website, the app TicTok, and how many young people, and a lot of them are people of color. So at one while, Trump had threatened to close off that app, and then he had threatened to take it over. And I believe somehow the situation might have been resolved, but a lot of people have businesses on there. And how he's attacked them is when he did those, he did the tariffs. At first you could, buy something off the little shop, and, it may come from somewhere further away. So you notice that you'd have these shipping and fee costs that was extreme. You buy something for $9, but now you got to pay 10 double for it because the shipping fees are a bit high. It used to not be like that. The shipping fees used to not be that high, but they are now. They have started to be extremely high. But what the people offer is coupons or some types of discounts to kind of offset a lot of that. So it hasn't stopped people from really buying things on those little shops. And then you have your Amazon, which Jeff Bezos is part of the 1%, and his Amazon website seemed to be running pretty smoothly. And what you can't find on one site, some people tend to go back to his site, and I believe he was getting all of the influx of the people who could no longer afford the shipping and fee costs or didn't want to go through the hassle of dealing with Temu and Shein because they've been attacked so heavily. So that broke in, to their business and put a, as what they say, they put a monkey wrench in their business. So now what I've noticed is so many people are on there, and I think that's a good thing, but then it also might be a sign of warning that we've come to a place where you can no longer work one job and be okay. You have to work other side hustles just to live a lifestyle of comfort. And then you have people who are making six figures and they still can't afford to pay for maybe their rent. They might have other things going on. So it's gotten far out of control. What makes this sad too, I don't think anybody realizes this, is that these billionaires, they're not even billionaires. They've surpassed even billionaire status. Some of them are almost in the trillionaire status. A lot of these issues like healthcare, housing, and homelessness, you could take like maybe 2 or 3 of these people and they could help to put some of their money, and it won't even make a dent in the incomes that they receive. Put their monies into housing and into the schools and into healthcare, and they could really do a lot of good rather than a lot of bad. What we've been seeing, instead of them putting their money into more border patrol and more militarized police, they could put their money into housing, help people to be able to afford to live in housing that's more affordable and safe and clean and upgraded. And then they could also help with these schools, not voucher programs, so that the rich can benefit and get a discount in their private schools that they put their kids in, but help all of the schools. And then theirs included, but make some provisions to help people who are marginalized, people who don't have the means that they do to put their kids in safe and secure education, and then also fund the teachers that are trying to help with these kids. There's a lot of good that they could do if they could change their mindset. It almost feels like there is an attack on not only just the people of color, but people who are poor. And so that's what I've been noticing. Now, I noticed that I did a video about, there's this thing called FBA, which is Foundational Black Americans. I guess that would be me, but the reason why I don't go around touting that is because a lot of the views of some of these people I disagree with. Because from what I've seen, there was a young man by the name of Tariq Nasheed. So I live in an area where he was calling himself building this museum. It was a black museum or a black sort of like an enclave, and he had made a digital picture and put it up on his website. Whenever you say anything about him, he sends all of his fan base to attack your page, or if you say anything, they go in the comment section and say some real demeaning things. And the one word I remember he always would use is tether. And I'm going to say that, tether. It was sort of, to me, his way of insulting other people. So he had went on a rampage about Roland Martin and some other social media influencers. Not only influencers, these are people that actually have been out with their 10 toes to the ground. They've covered media on black news. And I believe Roland Martin has a black news network. He actually has spoken with people, and so there's Dr. Umar, and then there's this Tariq Nasheed, and a lot of times they're able to say things that black people want to hear, but when you want to see the action, you don't see it. And I've noticed over the years, a lot of times they had been promising communities that they were building a school, or they were building something that would refer to the black culture, and they would receive a lot of donations. But a lot of people had started realizing after years went by that the things that they were promising were not coming to fruition. And a lot of it too is misogynistic. They'd say things about how women need to be submissive, or they need to be, a certain way. And I feel that a lot of the men who either they have a real misogynistic mentality tend to latch on to those type of influencers. And it's because they're saying things that they want to hear. But in reality, that is not what they're getting. Because a lot of those men are either they're very rude, or they mistreat black women. And I'm going to say that because I'm a black woman, and I would choose to have peace rather than have discord, or be with somebody that likes to spread their oats, as you would say, likes to sleep around and mess around with all kind of people. Because there's a lot of diseases that are out there. Not only heartbreak and, dishonesty in a relationship, but, somebody could give you something so fatal that you might not be able to have no more relationships at all, because people don't want to be involved with somebody that is stricken with some kind of affliction because they had, 1 or 2 weeks of hanky-panky with Mr. Hotep. Let's just get real here. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of these people that think like this are not doing the right things either. I don't care if they're black. If you're about hurting women, putting them in the hospital, calling them bitches and sluts and hoes, and mistreating the kids, and beating the brakes off of a woman who's barely trying to make it, she working harder than you, and you sitting there and you bum rushing her for the paycheck. You gets no love from me, and I don't have to bite my tongue about that. And any woman that supports that, you are part of the problem. You are also a part of the problem when you lift up these dudes like that, and then you allow them to mistreat you like that. You're part of the problem. And this could happen probably in other communities, but I'm talking, for instance, the black community. We have that problem. And I feel like a lot of those people that are in this FBA support that mess. I'm not in support of that. So, the other thing is, the reality is that all black people do not come from the same place. Just like other cultures don't always come from the same place. Just because we look like each other doesn't mean we all agree. And I understand some people may not agree with what I'm saying. But I'm going to tell you like this here. I don't take no bullshit from no niggas. That's just me. Now that's in the street sense. That term. I don't put up with no shit. Now, on the other hand, in a nicer form, I don't take no mess. If I see mess coming, I don't want to be a part of it. If I know you're no good, I'm not going to have you in my circle, and I'm not going to be putting up with none of your stuff. Whether you a man, woman, I don't know, creature, I'm not going to put up with it. That's just me. Now, what I've noticed too, you got all these people putting, I got 1,000 and 14,000 K subscribers. Some of those people, I think they're on the hunt for subscribers, clicks, and likes. I'm saying it like that. They're more concerned about gaining a following and becoming this popular influencer. And I think TikTok, from what my son and some people was telling me, young people that are young, and when I mean young adults, say that then people make money on how many viewers they have and followers, even if they come out with outrageous stuff. So I don't know if you guys have looked at my page. I had went looking at all of these influencers, whether they're bad or good, and I noticed they built the following. Even some of the worst people online. You know, there was the Apple Queen. I couldn't get enough of looking at that. She would cuss folks out. She used to be, I guess, big back in the days. She was real popular with Apple stores. Young girl that went in there and started dancing in front of a camera, and she went viral. And I noticed a lot of people are stuck on viral. They want to go viral. So they do the most outrageous things to draw attention. And somehow it works. I noticed this with another group of young ladies. They call themselves Queen Op and Shell. And then there was some other people. You know, they might do some of the most outrageous things that you wouldn't believe, and they just somehow they're able to get money, and they build a following, and they run around all over, moving from hotel to hotel to hotel. Some of them even get on the TikTok. They get on these social media sites and beg the heck out of people for money. And believe it or not, you would think people, you know, would be like, nope, I'm not giving my money to these people because that's all they want. Nope. Some people, they become fans and they give these people money. So I believe that's what's been going on. You see these people, I got 300,000 K followers. You know, Dr. Umar was doing that. I felt like he was typing in there to put the followers that he has, because he was a hot mess. Because I think the scandal that happened with him was he claimed he was building a school. And it was only going to have black people involved in it. Now, who's going to do that in a country that is right now hunting down black folks? I knew that wasn't going to happen. So right there, I knew he was a scammer. And when you get those building permits, you're going to go through somebody that isn't black. You know, you might go through some black people with some of these organizations, but you got to look at it where we live in. This ain't Africa. This is a country that is doing the opposite. They hurting us. They hunting us. They're trying to do things to make us lose our professions or lose jobs, or they make us work ourselves to death. And we still don't have enough. So when he said, I'm building a black school and the only people can work there are black people, and the only people I'm dealing with is black people, I knew he was not telling the truth. And I don't understand what young black person couldn't see that. Of course, we got some people that don't read and they just go with whatever they see somebody say, hear somebody say, and they run with it. I'm one, I got to research, I got to investigate, I got to find out the backstory of the person, I got to look into everything. I'd rather listen to a lawyer explain something to me and they have some kind of prior knowledge of this country than to listen to somebody that's popular and because he sound like he know what he's saying, running with it. I'm not a person that's easily persuaded by some snake oil salesman. So Tariq Nasheed, the same thing. So that building that he claimed that he was creating, I can drive over there right now and tell you that's a place, that's a building that has to be rented out. You rent the spaces out. So another young man had sense enough to go over there and investigate. And he put up his video showing that the building was not a building that Tariq owned. He had misled his followers and told them that he owned the building. He don't own that building. Somebody else owns that building. They rent the rooms out and they rent the space out. Then he said he was going to do some kind of artifacts, like a museum or somewhere where you can get black history. If you go there, that building is empty. It's empty. And the money he uses is he rents the space and then he puts things in there and showcases it. And then he even made a makeshift club in there. And I hate to say this, but I saw Vivica. He had some famous people to show up. I guess he had somehow convinced them to be like a face so that they can convince people that he was legit. I don't think those famous people really knew what he was really on to. I think they just was going ahead and trying to enjoy the moment. Maybe they got paid to show up. I don't know. Because it seemed like so many people was funding his little podcast. Now, they did a video. But a lot of their videos are disturbing because they always make black women look like we're the problem when it comes to a household of children that maybe don't have the two parents. I'm gonna say this to you right here. They have a problem with black women. A lot of these guys like this. That's why they didn't vote for Kamala. And they went around, I believe it was Tariq Nasheed was one of them, that went around. He had people flooding the internet to say that, to question the nationality of Kamala Harris. He went around saying she's not black. She's not a black woman because her parents are not foundational black parents. And this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter if they was born here or born outside the U.S. Them people are still black. So that's the reason why, I guess I'm getting deeper into the reason why I don't really agree with the FBA people. Even though I'd probably be somebody, technically, if you want to say foundational, it would be me. And I'm not going to go even deeper into my backstory because there is a backstory for me. If you want to say foundational, I'm probably the most foundational person that you're going to meet. I don't brag about it. And I got papers to prove my case. I heard another young lady, she was Hispanic, because I saw a flood of Hispanic videos where they were mad at black people for not protesting. And one lady, she said, why don't we do a DNA test? Well, guess what, honey? If we do a DNA test, we might find out that you are not who you think you are. So she was warning, let's do a DNA test to see who people really are. And really, if you be honest, a lot of people have admixtures from other people. And that's not by choice. That's not always unions of marriage. If you look at the history of black people in this country, there had been a lot of rapes. There had been a lot of mistreatment. And some of the babies and the babies of the babies of the babies have all these different admixtures. And her Latino self might have black in her. She might be shocked to find out who she really is. So, and sometimes I hear a lot of times there's some of those tests, if they're, they're not legit, they don't go as far back And then they always lump black people into one part of the continent of Africa, which is false. Because everybody is not from the same places. I have to reiterate that. So I don't believe in, sometimes I don't even really believe in that. I don't trust it because sometimes they can use that and engineer it to make you think you're from somewhere and you might not even be from there. So you gotta, like I said, you gotta really be careful about what information that you're receiving from whom. I don't know if anybody had been on really paying attention to that 23andMe. They were supposed to release data, and they were a DNA where you ordered a little kit and you do like a DNA sample. I think you do like a swab and you send it to their lab. And they had a lot of people where they were supposed to be connected to people in one group, and then some of the tests of some people said, "Oh, I got people over here, people in Louisiana, people in." They might have some of the information right, because I believe some of the people would give up places that they were born and this, that, and the other, and that's how some of that information. But I still think they can't dig that far back. Now, some might argue about that. I don't know, but what I did hear is that there was a lawsuit against 23andMe and that they were supposed to be releasing the data of the people with the DNA. I think that might be problematic, and that's another way they can control people. And they can also look into your family history and your backstory, and they can be watching you, which they are probably already do. We're all surveillance, even through the social media apps and whatnot. But I'm here to say this. After this video, I hope that you understand I'm not saying anything to be malicious or to incite any violence. I'm just saying things from a standpoint of view of somebody that's older, that has had some experiences, and I'm sharing them with you the best of my ability. No malice, but I know I've caught some heat, and I don't really take it personal. I just feel saddened by some of it, because I realize that's why Black America is in the shape that it's in now, because we got these people that they want to listen to people who don't have no legal background, they don't have no education, they just are popular and they're a character, and they run with them, and they give money to people who probably don't. They're not looking to better themselves. They're looking to line their pockets. And we trust people that we shouldn't be trusting. That's why a lot of these people voted. We have black people that voted for Donald Trump. And now we see all the damage that he's doing, when I remember and specifically recall seeing a flood of videos before he was elected warning black people about this man's history and who he was and how he treated people, even when he called himself being involved in real estate, that he didn't want to rent. He didn't even want to rent. Black people, why would you vote for this man? He didn't even want to rent to black people in some of his Trump towers. He had offices and then he had apartments. He didn't want to rent to them. Then I believe there was somebody that might be closely related to him that had apartments. He was involved in real estate, and it was slum. He was a slum lord. And you still pick this man. I just don't get it. And you know where this is coming from? That popularity. Because he was on The Apprentice. I even heard two young black people, they don't understand how this is going to impact them. They said, "Oh, we like Donald Trump because he's an asshole." That doesn't make him a good person, like he's in your corner and he's trying to support you. You going on because maybe you an asshole. You done did some bad things, so you wanna fund other bad people. But now you done did something where you funding the bad person who don't even like you because of, not because of what you from different worlds. No, they don't like you because of race. You don't back people like that because you do more damage to your own interests, to your own livelihood than anything. These are not games. These are not clicks and likes. Life is not only about that. If you hurting your housing, you hurting your chances of stability, of having health care, that's not something to be thinking that you can take lightly because it affects you greatly. If you're not able to do the things in life that you need to do, to just basic life things that you need that are going to sustain you so that you'll be here, that you could at least have some level of comfort, you don't go against your own interests like that. And I don't think that that's a bad thing, to want housing, to want health care, to want better schools for your kids. That's not about popularity. That's about living. That's about life. That's about sustainability. That's about health. That's about being able to have at least the basic needs met. Those are the first things about a person in life that sustain you and you're living, and see you on your way, that you're here for another week, another month, another year. You can enjoy all the things, even if it's, you don't have to be rich to have some type of fulfillment and be able to have your basic needs met. But when somebody snatches the bread off your table, they snatch your health care away, they take your housing away and leave you desolate, that's not going to bring any joy. It's going to create more violence. It's going to have suffering. And you're going to see people that are not going to make it and they're going to die. I don't think that that is a funny thing. I don't think that that's something you do clicks and likes on. You gotta take those things serious, because that could affect, maybe if you don't understand and you're too young to realize what's going on, it could affect your mother, your grandmother, your maybe your siblings, people you're close to that you have feelings and you care about. And if you are coming from a background where you've been thrown out and you've been tossed aside because your life is miserable, doesn't mean that now I want everybody else's life to be miserable. But we have people like that. We have people like that. They have something that didn't work out for them and they want to see everybody else suffer. And that is not the way to go in life thinking. I've had a lot of things happen to me in my life that haven't been good, but I don't turn around and want to hurt the next person because something didn't go right for me. That's the kind of person I am. And for men, because you have a couple of relationships that don't work out, and now you want to run around and hurt all black women because them other two black women didn't do something right in your life, you're wrong for that. Everybody, like I said, is not the same. And for you to go around and hurting people because you've been hurt doesn't make it right. You're supposed to give yourself time to heal from that. Go get your therapy. Do what you got to do and move on with your life. And learn the lesson from the past. And don't get involved with people like that. If you know you've been disappointed. But you don't go around and now you become what you hate. So this is the thing that I feel like people don't. We also in the black community, we don't focus on mental health either. We think because we're black, we're strong, and we've gone through this and slavery and all this, and we've gone without, and we've gone through the mud and the struggles and the beatings and all this, that we gotta be these people that just take a beating constantly. No, we're human. At the end of the day, we have feelings. We hurt too. And so when we don't focus on our mental health, we go and attack other black people. Because we have mental issues that have been left unchecked. That doesn't make it right. If something bad happened to you and you got mental issues, go get some help for it. There's some programs that are free. That doesn't mean let me turn around and hurt this woman because she's doing something I can't do. Or I can't have her and I can't sleep with her and I can't pounce on her, so I'm going to hurt her. First of all, if that's what you want to do with that person, they may not want to live like that. They may not want you beating on them or pouncing on them. Maybe they had experiences and they done moved on and they living their life, their best life without all that drama. They see you, they know it's drama. They don't want to be bothered with it. You can't be mad for somebody that don't want no drama in their life. But we got people like that. They go around miserable and they look for other people to make miserable right along with them. So this is where I'm at. And that's the kind of person I am. And you got a problem with people from different backgrounds. I try to be open-minded. You don't like my opinions? That's fine. Move on. You can scroll the other way. You can click another button and listen to that madness. What you like to hear. I know in life people like sex, drugs, drama, and chaos. That's probably why they voted for this man. Because it ain't a dull moment, but it's dangerous. Because you gambling with your life when you pick people like this. Is the way people look at things, they figure if it ain't happening in my life, screw everybody else. But now it is going to happen in your life because he's doing things in that White House office that he know how to finagle and finesse the courts and put the judges in there that he want to put in there, which Mitch McConnell helped him do that. And now he's screwing everybody. And white people included. He done screwed you because it's not all of you that have money. He done messed with your business and now you got to close up shop behind picking him. Because a lot of you voted for misogyny, for racism, for hatred, for unkindness, for uncouthness. Oh, because he's an asshole. And now you crying. And then you want to point fingers at different groups. Oh, it's your fault. Or you not marching with me and you didn't do this and you didn't, knowing that you might have checked that box and got this man elected. You helped to do it too. You need to look at yourself. Think about what your psyche is telling you. Did you think because he was popular that you thought, he's popular, I'm gonna pick him? I even heard there's a family that got deported and they said they still support this man, even though they got kicked out the country. I don't really believe all of that is true. That they really think that was a good thing. But I believe there's a psychosis going around, an illness, a sickness if you would, a mental illness that people just seem to wallow in chaos. They like this drama. Like a political theater has gone full throttle. I had to catch myself. Sometimes I see some stuff on the internet and it's wild. And I said, I don't believe that these people really exist. And I'm going to elaborate on it. I have to before I let this video go because I know I make the videos short because I don't want to bore people, but I'm just being honest. Some of the shit that I've seen on these videos, you couldn't make this shit up. People talking about I don't take a bath, I don't take a shower. I've seen videos like that of people that say that they don't clean themselves. I don't know if that's true. I feel like they do that because that gets them more clicks and more people are looking at their background, trying to see how they treat their kids in the back, because if they don't, they're going to call CPS. Then I've seen people putting their kids out there, basically prostituting their kids out. low key, doing softcore. It's like softcore porn, pedophilia. Now they calling CPS on the mama. You know, the boots on the ground mama, they called the CPS on her. She got mad and pissed, did a video cussing folks out. Then the Apple Queen, let me get back to that. She cusses people out on the daily. Now, I believe there's a couple of things going on with that. I believe that she misses the fame that she once had when she had the viral following. And let's elaborate on that, because that all goes with the culture that we're dealing with right now. This viral thing. Everybody wants to be viral. And from what I'm hearing, TikTok pays pretty good. So the most outrageous shit you can come up with, you getting paid. I saw a woman said that she's welfare. She said she the food stamp lady or something like that. She went on social media talking about how she gets money and taxpayers have to take care of her 6 kids. Her shit went viral because people were looking at it. And then I kept scrolling through her videos. I was intrigued. I said, is this woman for real? She gonna air all her business out like that? She said she got Section 8. She got all the government programs. And she wasn't black. She was white. She was talking about how she got all these government programs and that she paid only $70, I think she said, in rent. And I guess the people in her area that had been watching her, and they recognized her. And in the next video, the last one that I saw her eyes were black and blue. They must have caught up with her and they beat her ass. Them people were mad. They jumped her. Told her, you can't be living off of our money and this, that, and the other. And they whooped her something terrible. So she got on social media warning people like other people live like her, which unfortunately there might be some others. They just not as loud as her. She was making TikTok money. She was getting government assistance. She was getting SNAP benefits. She was getting all kind of benefits. And she said she didn't want to work. She wasn't going to get a job. Well, honey, since they done passed this big, beautiful bill, which is a big, ugly bill, you might have to work. So all them people are sitting back, kicking back at home, that thought all this stuff was funny. We gonna see who gonna have the last laugh now, because this stuff ain't funny. Because you might have to get up off your behind and go to work. It's just that simple. So I also seen some videos of people saying that they don't clean themselves. They don't believe in taking baths. And I can't help but to believe that that's just another tactic to get people to click and have a lot of followers. Because I kind of watched the person and I said, they don't look like they dirty. They don't look like they unclean. But then again, you never know. They even went a step further and said they don't wipe themselves after they use the bathroom. I said, good golly Wally. I said, they really gonna get followers now. Because people want to see how do you live a lifestyle without wiping your behind. So, I know this is crazy. We going into a rabbit hole, but I said, let me read about this. Maybe there's some kind of mental problem with all of that. It is. But when I read about it, it was sad. It says that when people have been assaulted sexually, they might not clean themselves or they don't take a bath because in their minds, they don't want to be sexual assaulted again. So if you think somebody smells or you don't want to touch them because the funk, you might be apt to not want to mess with them because the smell is unpleasant. So that's the purpose for them not cleaning themselves. So I said this is sad because this brings up the issue of mental health and then also women with domestic violence situations and sexual assault. Now, we saw what happened with the Diddy thing, I know I had a co-worker, he was saying, well, the thing that didn't sit well with him is the fact that if you are a sexual assault survivor, a domestic assault survivor, Why wouldn't you go to the proper authorities and air him out without asking for the money? And that's a good question. But she held it on his head about the money. She said, if you, well, this is what I heard in articles and in other statements and people that he was talking about. So I was following the Cassie and the Diddy thing too. That she was saying that she had gave him an ultimatum. You pay me and I will keep quiet about what has happened and move on with my life. So she wanted to get paid. And a sexual domestic assault survivor, you would think they just say, I had enough of this beating, all this abuse. I don't care about the money. I just want to go ahead and I want to, I'll sue him, if we end up in court. But I just want him to be, held accountable for what he's put me through all these years. So that's the part that I kind of had to side with some of it. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. Why would you want? But then again, think about it. If you look at it a little more deeper, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Maybe she had some health issues with all those beatings, so she needed to have medical treatment. Because, if you looked at the video of how he was kicking on her and stuff, she might have had some broken bones. When you go to the doctor and you go to your physician and stuff, and if you have some health issues, sometimes the medicines are expensive. Some of the treatments, maybe the surgery might cost a grip. So she probably wanted the money for that. So we're not in the lives of these people. We just in part of their lives. We see on the surface of what they've expressed. So I'm thinking that could have been it. Maybe she needed the money to move on with life. Because if she was living, her career was, think about it, y'all. Her career was tied up with him. So if she had lost her career through him, then where is she going to work? What is she going to do if all she knows how to do is sing? Who's going to hire her for whatever else? And if he has the keys to the city and the keys to Hollywood, her career is done. So yeah, she might need that money. I don't think people have thought about it that way. So if you lose everything, you're going to need some money to carry you out so you can go on to your next venture. In terms of, where you're going to work, where you're going to live, where you're going to stay. I would assume she was living with Diddy. So she would have need money to go somewhere and get a new place. So she going to need some money. And, guys tend to always side with the other guys, even if they're not good guys, and then that might be a reflection of who they are too. They may not be good guys themselves, and they don't think about the fact that when that woman comes forward and says something like that, it's always been the case, and it has in the past, that the woman gets belittled. She's called a hoe. They always look at her as, oh, she's not the victim, she's the problem, when really that woman is a victim. She's probably one of many victims. And the fact that, these men, they get in a position of power and they feel like they can get away with anything. Let that be known. And then Boosie, he gets on there on social media talking about he glad Diddy got out because they going after all the moguls. All he's concerned about is men being at the top of the forefront, and women's rights, screw that. And we've seen this happen. They try to take away your voting rights. If you marry somebody, they don't want, if your name don't match, if you take the last name of this man, you can't vote. That's taking away women's rights, abortion rights, overturning Roe versus Wade. All this stuff is in line with that FBA stuff too. I don't agree with it. I'm going to say it twice, say it once, say it with my chest. I don't agree with it because it's taking away women's rights. And some of y'all didn't vote for this person because she was a woman. It ain't even just about color. You just don't want to see women have shit. Because you ain't shit. Let's just be real. And I'm not afraid to say that because I've seen people, some of the women in my family, just go through a marriage, go through different situations with these dudes that don't do no right by them, promising them the world and giving them nothing but dirt. Maybe not even that. So, two, we got a group of women who they just run behind and chase tail too. And that's, you think, what life is about. I heard some alarmist stuff at my workplace where the women say, oh, all the men cheat. But it will let you start cheating and see how he treats you. He don't want you doing it. So then why should you accept him doing it? Then I saw another young lady. She got videos all over the place. She called herself Peach Entry. She got a cheating husband. He cheats on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then all of a sudden he this upstanding husband. And then 1 minute she'll say all this stuff about he did this to me and he did that to me. And the next moment she all up in his face, in his grill. She keeps having baby after baby, and she starts off with her videos. Peach McEntry, I got 9 kids and a husband. Yeah, he ain't a good one. He ain't a good one. She look like she supports him. She busting her ass doing all this stuff, and she got a gambling problem. She's supporting this man and keep having his babies, and he keep treating her like shit. You know why? Because she allows that. And it ain't just her. There are others that are doing the same thing. You allow these people to treat you like that, then that's what you're gonna get. Don't expect this person to be right when you've been letting them do all the wrong things. And you've been allowing it and making excuses for them. I don't even want to hear it. I had to unfollow that broad because I was like, she ain't nothing but a train wreck. And it ain't just her. There's some others out there that are like that. And so I was paying close attention to the world because you get a lot of training and you get a lot of education when you see what's going on in the world that you can't get in no books. I'm serious. So I started learning. I said, yeah, people really got a lot of drama going on. Well, anywho, I'm going to try to get off this video right here, but I'll tell you this. Young black women, watch yourself. I'm not promoting that I know some people have issues with different people from different backgrounds or their opinions and stuff, but just live your a safe life. The people say live your best life. Live a safe life. Try to live a safe life because you won't be here long. And especially with what we're dealing with now, we might have to really start turning around looking at these issues a little more serious than what we have been. I know some people feel like because it's not happening in their community, they don't have as much power, they feel helpless, that, they don't know what to do. But you got to keep your eyes and ears open, and you got to be alert to what's going on in the world. The world can be sometimes you can have some great experiences, and then you can have some real ugly experiences, and all of it is also a part of learning. And experiences is a good teacher. What you don't read in books or what you don't get in schools, and I've learned that as well. I noticed that some of these schools train people to be certain professions that are obsolete or don't really pay a lot of money. They've also done that, I believe, to women, where they train women to only learn certain skills because they want you to marry these no good men who are going to treat you bad. That's not the intent, but that in a way is, because they want you to feed into that misogyny. And I feel like when we was coming up, they had us doing homemaking and things like that because they was training us to be the good housewife. But who are you being good to? If he whopping you upside the head, he at home now, he posted up, you out there busting your ass. You the breadwinner, but he cussing you out twice, 3 times over, and you having all these babies, working your tail off, and you getting the brakes beat off of you, and you have to wear shades. I don't think that's a good life. just to say you got a man. And if you are okay with running around chasing these dudes who they out there chasing all these tail and all this, who God knows what is out there, you open yourself up to disease that you wouldn't believe. Don't cry when you up in somebody's clinic or hospital, all stretched out eagle style, and you gotta have pills and surgery and medicine and who knows what, and you can't come back from that. You opening yourself up to that. Have some common sense. And that's what I'm hearing from some young black women. Some of them ain't that young and they talk like that. You like that? I don't want to be around you. Just scroll to the next. Scroll on. Because I don't deal with stupidity and ignorance. If you allow somebody to hurt you like that and you think that's cool, then you got, maybe there's some mental issues going and you need to, it's unchecked. You need to go get some help. Because that ain't the way people supposed to be treating nobody. Do right by you. You got kids, they watching that. They grow up to be just what you hate. Break that cycle. Now, I know I've never really expressed myself like this, but I felt the need to do so because of the times that we're living in, because I feel like people don't really take things serious. I don't deal with too many people, for the fact that I know a lot of people are not serious or they're out to hurt you. You don't have any real friends until you really build relationships with people who are about that, about the good life, that at least treats people with respect. And we've lost that somewhere. If you're about, oh, I'm going to sleep with this one and I'm going to sleep with that one, and now you passing out diseases like the gift that keeps on giving, I'm not trying to fool with you. Don't care who you are. And I've chosen to be in my circle, and a lot of that is the defense mechanism, because I don't want to be bothered with no foolishness. And I've dealt with some problems with not only men, you can't even be friends with other black women, because some of the drama they come with. They trying to tell you how to live, or they in your business, or they done stole something from you, or they jealous of something that you doing maybe they're not able to achieve. So you got to be careful. It's true what Erykah Badu said in her song, pick your friends like you pick fruit off an apple tree. It's true. You don't know what their mindset is. You don't know who's into what nowadays. And everybody's got their lives. They into their pursuits and all that. But I'll tell you this, I'm not into no foolishness. I don't want to deal with somebody that's toxic. I don't like all that fighting. All the people, they come with all this drama and all this craziness. So I feel like too, everybody's trying to go viral. They want clicks and likes. Like I was telling you about some of those influencers. That girl, I think she lost something, that Apple Queen, because she cusses people out on the regular. And some of the words that she's saying, I'm like, and I started to also notice something about that video. I looked into it deeper and I noticed, I said, you know what, there's some wackos that like to hear her cussing them out. And they get off on that. And that's how she's able to get a room. I heard her one time saying she was trying to get a hotel room. And she said, oh, I need some food to eat, send me some money. And I said, for her to do that and be confident about doing that, people out there are giving her money. I think the young people, they got Cash App and all these little things where you can just send money electronically. The Queen Op and a Shell, they would be in one room, get kicked out, and be in another one, and be posted up in there and posting the videos and mocking the police. Not afraid. They even showed the scene where the police came and kicked the door down. They got so many likes, so many clicks, so many follows, and it seemed like comedy, but an ugly version of comedy, where it could go where somebody's getting abused and hurt. And so we gone into a place where people don't even have respect no more for themselves. They had a baby in the video, moving the baby around from hotel room to hotel room. And now that we got these issues with poverty, we might see a lot more of that, unfortunately. I know there was a place, because I was in a building where the whole building broke down. Now I'm sharing something with you, and then I will get off of this. I kid you not, I was in a building, apartment building, for a number of years. I think I was there for like maybe 3 years or something like that. And the whole building, all the plumbing had broke down in the building. So I had to get on the horn and call, legal aid and all these people. And we went to court, the whole building. We all went to court to try to sue the building company. Then the man come there, he was scared as hell. Scared out of his mind. Because he saw that people had enough of it. They expected us. This was during the time they had COVID. And so the building broke down on us. So these people came in my apartment and put a big ass hole in my kitchen floor. Opened the floor up till you could see the bottom of the earth. It was that deep. Then they ran a cord all the way from one of the pipes and called themselves digging or something like that. They didn't know what the hell they was doing. And they ran the pipe to my toilet. We couldn't even go to the bathroom unless we took that pipe out. And that pipe was getting everybody's urine, everybody's feces, everything was running to my toilet. I was mad as hell. I never talk like this, but I'm just being real with you. So we had to call all of these housing advocates and all these people, legal aid. We got all of them involved. We went down to civil to the small claims court to try to claim the little bit that we could claim. All of the people in the apartment building ended up in extended stay hotel. So they paid for a while for us to stay. Some stayed 3 months, some stayed 4 and 5 months and longer. So I started learning what the hotel living was like before I had found another place. I had got my monies together, and the money they did give us back. They had to give us all of our deposit monies back. They gave us offers and different things like that, because then they spoke with their lawyers on what was fair. And so I used my money to find another place, and but in the hotel living, it was interesting. I noticed there was service people there because we were close to the LA Air Force Base. So there was a man, he was next door. He had all kind of prostitutes coming to his room. And it was something wrong with him. He was a service guy, so he must have been going through something. Because I hear people don't want to talk about this, but it's a mental health issue that some of those men that come out of there, if not all of them, I feel like all of them come out with something wrong with them. If it isn't physical, it's mental, or it's all of it. So this man, he was looking at me, and I said, "What you be picking up? That ain't me. You just keep pushing." Cause I ain't about that. What the young people say, I ain't about that life. Cause you be sleeping around doing the huckabuck with all these old street hood rats. I don't want what you got. You keep them germs to yourself. And I'll say it. Cause it needs to be said. Cause people, they go around and do stuff and they think this shit is okay, and it ain't. You gotta call people out on their mess. So we were living in the hotel, and I got tired of it because the door would keep opening. So I guess people would break into the rooms to see what you got in there, and then the little hotel staff, they would come, they be looking around trying to see what you got in your room. You don't know if they taking your stuff or looking through your things, which I believe they were. So I noticed the door had flung open because it's electronic. You got to use a little card to open the door. And sometimes those things don't work if people figure out how to save the cards or they break into the rooms. It's a magnetic card, and you have to slip it through the slot to open the door, to unlock the doors. If you lose those cards, then you got to get another card from the office. So I noticed I wasn't liking that. I wasn't feeling that, because it's not a key where you can actually physically lock the door. So it's just a card key, so it's electronic, so it malfunctioned a lot. So it would open up, and all my shit is in there, and somebody could run up in there and take whatever they want. So I didn't want to leave my purse in there because of that, and my belongings, So we stayed there for probably like 3 months. They had like the little free breakfast, and a continental breakfast is what they call it. They had that in the front. And we were there for a while. In the beginning, it seemed like it was a cool little spot. But then we started noticing all of the people that looked like they were pretty, like drama queens, drama kings, people that into some weird shit. We was noticing it. And we said, wow, this is a whole nother world living in the hotel. And so then the lady broke it down to me, because I've said it in other videos. I didn't disclose where I got the information, but now I'm telling you. When we were in the hotel, when our place had broke down, the lady was telling me during COVID, they gave them 2 years. The people who were homeless and didn't have nowhere to go, they couldn't kick them out. So she said they had up to 2 years or so that they could stay there rent free. Yeah. This here in LA. So there was a little Ralph's that's next door to the extended stay. You could go there and get your little food and all that old stuff like that. So for a while, we were waiting on those checks from the rental company. They were supposed to, the ones where we was paying rent legitimately to in an apartment. They were supposed to pay for our lodging, pay for our food, give us food checks, and somebody had said, hey, they owe us grocery money. So they were late on that. They thought we wasn't swift. So we was doing our homework. I mean, we were on it. We was checking each other's rooms. We was talking to each other, sitting down as tenants. So I learned something from that. When you get people together of all walks of life and background that are being mistreated and they work collectively, you get shit done. All this race divide and division, they don't want you guys to start sitting down and talking with each other on how you can fix and resolve a situation. They want you to fight. They want you to be in discord. They want you to go against each other, just like they do the black and Hispanic community. But when we was tenants and we all was going, we was black and Hispanics living in that building. And we had a problem with one issue, is that they lied to us. They took our money. They was trying to make us pay rent for some shit that was broken down, and they was taking advantage of all of us. Didn't matter what color we were. But we all sat down, we worked together, we called different lawyers, we called legal aid, we called all the lawyers, we called the Spanish lawyers, we called the English speaking lawyers. We got down and dirty with them. And trust and believe, we had a 180 on every level. We turned and flipped the script, and they got more afraid of us than we were of them, because it was more of us that was going through what we was going through. We was serious. We wasn't taking no for an answer. And so we even had where we withheld the rent until they fixed things like they were supposed to. Now, it brings me to now, I moved. Some people moved because they didn't want to sit there. They wanted to move on and go on with their lives, because they had work and they had their business, different things they wanted to get back in order. Some people can do that hotel living. That is hard, because you can't really put a whole lot of things in the hotel, and you got to be moving with that stuff. And then I've seen people who they was putting things in storage, and then I met people along the way when I had things in the storage unit, and I paid my storage unit. Some people will default on that storage unit. They don't pay it, and they can take your stuff, lock it, keep it away, and then they auction it off or whatever. But I paid my storage, and so I started meeting interesting people there. And I noticed some homeless people put their things in storage, and they live off whatever, they live in and out of hotels, or they couch surf or whatever. You got functional home, different levels of homelessness. You got some people, they live in tents and they're all the way at the bottom. Then you got some people, they live in hotels, in and out of hotels, friends, couch surfing and all this different stuff, whatever, creative. Some people, they figure it's cheaper to live like that. And then you got people living out of RVs. The RVs might be nice, they move them, they shift them around. Then the RVs are beat up RVs, and you got these what they call van lords. They're RV lords. They take advantage of the people who are really down on their luck, and it can become real violent and dangerous. So I learned a whole lot that you couldn't learn in just some books. You had to be in it, living it, or around it. And I'm one of those people. I learn from books, and I learn from real life events and my life and what are the other people's lives. That's how I learn, and experiences. And I learn what the Hispanic community goes through, what the white communities go through, if they go through anything at all. But it's usually poor white people. There are poor white people out there, y'all. Every white person ain't paid. Every white person ain't Elon. So, I saw some of them living in and out of the hotels. They just making it. That's a different culture as well. So I learned so much, and now the internet world has changed so much. I remember back in the days it was MySpace. Anybody remember that? I might be telling my age. But we gotta treat people better, y'all. We gotta treat people better. We can't assume just because somebody doesn't agree with all of your ideas that this person is a person that they don't know what they're talking about. Because everybody has experiences. And so if somebody is not particularly in line with that Hotep stuff, don't write them off and cancel them off. And think that, because they don't let a man pounce on them, it's something wrong with them. Maybe they don't want to be putting up with no bullshit. Let's just be real. They might not want to put up with all of that. So, they might have had a divorce. Maybe they've been through something. And they done moved on. They done excelled in their life without all that drama. And there are people like that. They went through experiences, and now they on the outside looking at all these people dealing with what they already had overcome. And they shaking their head thinking, all I got to do is leave. Some people say, it's hard for some people to leave because sometimes it can get hard if kids are involved, properties involved, or that person. That happened to somebody I know that was close to me, that the person, they had the car in their name, they had the house in their name, they had everything in their name. And if she had left, she wouldn't have had no place to go. So she hung on his every word, even though he was treating her bad, beating her up, sleeping with prostitutes, bringing her back, all that bullshit. We know as people live like that. But there's gotta be an escape route. You don't have to live like that. You choosing something because you feel that you must do this. And then there's fear. We got little Hitlers and little Trumps running around. People that are in relationships and they dealing with somebody like that. They dealing with somebody that's treating them horribly. And they put up with a lot of that because they feel like they don't have nothing else. So, yeah, y'all. So, anyway, I'm going to get off of here. But we shall see what Elon does. Because I feel like he's sort of like, he's similar in other ways to Trump. He helped to put this man in office. And maybe he if he takes him out, maybe he has a way of doing that. But who knows? We don't know if he got his own agendas and if that's also problematic. Because, like it says, he's the world's richest man. And we got the 1%, like what Bernie Sanders says, the 1% and the 99%. I guess I'm in the 99%. Most of us are. if we are not upper echelon, a lot of those people, we don't have very many trillionaires, but when we do have them, they seem to be into they self. That's a whole nother world. And I could even tell you somewhat about that. I mean, my mother, she used to clean house for people like that. And they really are far removed from what people are going through. They didn't have to live like that. They don't have to live like that. So it's hard for them to understand, some of them, what is it like to have to get up and work every day. These people have money working for them. They sit back and they can go on cruises and they can go on trips and they can make decisions and watch other people slave under them. You know, they are not the ones that have to worry about the money. Is all they worry about is getting more money. What other businesses are bringing in more revenue? And looking at the stock market. That's their job. Then you got those people like that. That's probably the only thing is they worrying about keeping their money. And how much more money they can make. And I feel like other people want to be them in a sense. And then there's people who they look up to these people like they're brilliant, or they're you know, like they got some kind of expertise that they want to have a piece of the pie, and they just never seem, they're chasing something that'll never ever happen. Because first of all, when you look at it, it's a scale that's unbalanced. You have all this small amount of people that harbor all this money, but then on the other end of the scale, you have all this poverty. That's not a good thing, y'all. That spells trouble. And so if you have people that all they want you to do is buy their cars, all they want you to do is buy into their business, and they become richer, but you seem to not becoming richer, you becoming poorer, there's your issue. And all the other things like racism, discrimination, those things they use as tools because those are easy to weed people out and identify the flaws, quote unquote, that what they see as flaws, or something is wrong with that individual, whatever it is that they disagree with that's not in line with their agenda. It's easier to weed those people out and to also make decisions to keep those people in poverty. I do believe that's what's been going on. It's been going on for centuries. And they've been using that. It's always discriminating. There's always been some level of discriminating. There's always been something that they put in there as an obstacle and barriers. I believe they do that in schools. That some people are able to succeed and others aren't, because it's not because necessarily that you're stupid. You hadn't had the exposure. They're giving you tests about things that you don't even experience in your neighborhood, in your community. So how would you understand something like that and be able to process that when you've never experienced it? These kids, they're smarter than what you think. They know these street experiences. They know what's happening in their community. If you use money to go to the store to get a loaf of bread and that's all you have, what change are they going to give back to you? If you make scenarios like that, kids can understand that better. Instead of, oh, this happened and this happened and this is how the money goes and this money and you add this and you take this away and this. There's no story behind it. There's nothing that they can really connect to understand. Wait a minute, I don't get it. They don't understand it because they don't relate to it. So some of that is what's going on in some of these schools. Is the reason why some of the kids perform poorly. And then they have outdated lessons. I've noticed that. And then there's some schools, they have all the resources because they have parents that live in better communities and make more money, and you see the stark difference in those neighborhoods. And some of those schools might be public schools. They just happen to be parents that live and have higher incomes. They live in communities that are more affluent. So I've noticed this throughout my life, that people If you learn something, you learn from experiences that you've been through. But that's where I'm at on this. But anyway, I'm going to let this go. I really feel for the people right now because I saw a young lady. There are some young people who really do pay attention. And I've saved a lot of that. I'm on TikTok and I'll be listening to some of the young people pretty much listening out. They are really, that's the people I feel that they got their heads on straight. They're young, they're bright, they have smaller followings too. They're not as popular, but they're popular in my book because the way that they come about things, they think like almost like they're 50 something years old and they might be 20 something. They are reading these laws. They're looking at these bills. They can tell you they're reading and investigating and researching real true history of black people. And they're not coming out there doing videos and preaching to people and trying to get money out of people and swindling the black community and black people as themselves. They're not doing that. And I applaud those people. Those people they should be getting a lot more credibility than they do. And we know how it is. It's the same with music. You know, some people, we got young black people who they're doing opera, they're doing music that you normally wouldn't see people being attracted to. There's new R&B artists that are doing music from the past, from that now people don't even really listen to. I applaud those people because those people seem to be well-grounded individuals because they at least pay attention. If you can reach a few people, I don't care that I don't have 2.3 million followers, because you're gonna lose somebody somewhere, and not everybody is doing the right things. So that doesn't bother me. If 2 people can hear what I'm saying and they understand and they say, you know, I get it, I'm good with that. And I've had that. But anyway, I'm going to let go of this. I really wish you guys the best. This bill is not a good bill. It is going to cut into a lot of people's lives. And like the one young lady on TikTok says, she prays for America. And they was berating her and bashing her for saying that. She's reading the bill. She sees who it's going to hurt. That's what bothers me too. It's like I don't understand how people can't see that. That it is going to come around where it's going to hurt you. If you ain't Elon money, you ain't making that kind of money, you going to get hurt by this bill. Anyway, well, we shall see how this thing turns out, because I don't know. I felt like there's been threats on Donald Trump's life. That's why he has so much security. But, you know, he ain't always going to be the president, I don't believe. Something bad is going to happen. And I'm not trying to threaten anybody. I'm just saying it's the way the culture is going, the way the climate of the violence, you know, the protests are going to, I think, be more intense. I'm foreseeing this as an intuition. I feel like if you take programs away from people, there will be more uptick of crime in our areas. We're seeing more break-ins, like their jewelry robberies. You know, they're breaking in stores. We seeing that on the news. So I feel like all of this is a result of what's been going on. You know, we wasn't seeing that a couple of years ago. We wasn't seeing that much break-ins, but now it's happening more close together. And I feel like we will have more riots. I really do. I don't want to see things like that, but I feel like the way the world is going, when you take things away from people, their basic needs, that's when you bring about all of this chaos. So anyway, I'm gonna let this go, but you guys stay safe, and I'll be back on another video.